Hello, this is Mr. White. We're on Chapter 10. This is Lesson 3, Plant Structures. My Planet Diary. Plant Giants. The aroid plants, as shown here, on the island of Borneo in Asia, has leaves that can grow 3 meters long. These are the largest undivided leaves on Earth. The Rafflesia flower can grow up to 1 meter wide and weigh 7 kilograms. The jackfruit can weigh up to 36 kilograms. That's the world's largest fruit that grows on trees. What are the functions of roots, stems, and leaves? Each part of a plant plays an important role in its structure and function. Roots, stems, and leaves are just 3 structures we will look into. Roots. Have you ever tried to pull a dandelion out of the soil? It's not easy, is it? That is because most roots are good anchors. Roots have 3 main functions. Roots anchor a plant in the ground, absorb water and minerals from the soil, and sometimes store food. The more root area a plant has, the more water and minerals it can absorb. Types of roots. The 2 main types of root systems are shown in Figure 1. A fibrous root system contains many similarly sized roots that form a dense, tangled mass. Plants with fibrous roots take a lot of soil with them when you pull them out of the ground. Long grass, corn, and onions have fibrous root systems. In contrast, a taproot system has one long, thick main root. Many smaller roots branch off the main root. A plant with a taproot system is hard to pull out of the ground. Carrots, dandelions, and cacti have taproots. Root structure. In Figure 2, you can see the structure of a typical root. The tip of the root is rounded and is covered by the root cap. The root cap protects the root from injury as the root grows through the soil. Behind the root cap are the cells that divide to form new root cells. Root hairs grow out of the root surface. These tiny hairs can enter the spaces between soil particles, where they absorb water and minerals. The root hairs also help to anchor the plant in the soil. Locate the vascular tissue in the center of the root. The water and nutrients from that are absorbed from the soil quickly to move into the xylem. From there, these substances are transported upward to the plant's stems and leaves. Phloem transports food manufactured in the leaves to the root. The root tissue then uses food for growth or to store it for future use by the plant. Stems. The stem of a plant has 2 main functions. The stem carries substances between the plant's roots and leaves. The stem also provides support for the plant and holds up the leaves so they are exposed to the sun. In addition, some stems, such as those of asparagus, store food. The structure of a stem. Stems can be either woody or herbaceous. Woody stems are hard and rigid, such as in maple trees. Herbaceous stems contain no wood and are often soft. Plants with herbaceous stems include daisies, ivy, and asparagus. Herbaceous and woody stems consist of phloem and xylem tissues as well as many other supporting cells. As you can see in Figure 3, a woody stem contains many layers of tissue. The outermost layer is bark. Bark includes an outer protective layer and an inner layer of living phloem, which transports food through the stem. Next is a layer of cells called the cambium, which divides to produce new phloem and xylem. It is xylem that makes up the most of what you call wood. Sapwood is active xylem that transports water and minerals through the stem. The older, darker heartwood is inactive but provides support. Annual rings. Have you ever looked at a tree stump and seen a pattern of circles that looks like something like a target? These circles are called annual rings. They represent a tree's yearly growth. Annual rings are made of xylem. Xylem cells that form in the spring are large and have thin walls because they grow rapidly. They produce a wide, light brown ring. Xylem cells that form in the summer grow slowly and therefore are small and have thick walls. They produce a thin, dark ring. One pair of light and dark rings represents 1 year's growth. You can estimate a tree's age by counting its annual rings. The width of a tree's annual rings can provide important clues about past weather conditions, such as rainfall. In rainy years, more xylem is produced, so the tree's annual rings are wide. In dry years, rings are narrow. By examining annual rings from some trees in the southwestern United States, scientists were able to infer that the severe droughts occurred in the years 840, 1067, 1379, and 1632. Leaves. Leaves vary greatly in size and shape. Pine trees have needle-shaped leaves. Birch trees have small, rounded leaves with jagged edges. Regardless of their shape, leaves play an important role in a plant. Leaves capture the sun's energy and carry out the food-making process of photosynthesis. The structure of a leaf. If you were to cut through a leaf and look at the edge under the microscope, you would see the structures in Figure 4. The leaf's top and bottom surface layers protect the cells inside. Between the layers of cells are veins that contain xylem and phloem. The surface layer of the leaf have small openings, or pores, called stomata. The stomata open and close to control when gases enter and leave the leaf. When the stomata are open, carbon dioxide enters the leaf, and oxygen and water vapor exit. The leaf and photosynthesis. The structure of a leaf is ideal for carrying out photosynthesis. The cells that contain the most chloroplast are located near the leaf's upper surface, where they get the most light. The chlorophyll in the chloroplast traps the sun's energy. Carbon dioxide enters the leaf through open stomata. Water, which is absorbed by the plant's roots, travels up the stem to the leaf through the xylem. During photosynthesis, sugar and oxygen are produced from the carbon dioxide and water. Oxygen passes out of the leaf through the open stomata. The sugar enters the phloem and then travels throughout the plant. Controlling water loss. Because such a large area of a leaf is exposed to the air, water can quickly evaporate from a leaf into the air. The process by which water evaporates from a plant's leaves is called transpiration. A plant can lose a lot of water through transpiration. A corn plant, for example, can lose almost 4 liters of water on a hot summer day. Without a way to slow down the process of transpiration, a plant would shrivel up and die. Fortunately, plants have ways to slow down transpiration. One way plants retain water is by closing the stomata. The stomata often close when leaves start to dry out. How do seeds become new plants? Many plants begin their life cycle as a seed. You can follow the cycle from seed to plant in Figure 6. All seeds share important similarities. Inside a seed is a partially developed plant. If a seed lands in an area where conditions are favorable, the plant sprouts out of the seed and begins to grow. Seed structure. A seed has 3 main parts: an embryo, stored food, and a seed coat. The young plant that develops from the zygote, or fertilized egg, is called the embryo. The embryo already has the beginnings of roots, stems, and leaves. In the seeds of most plants, the embryo stops growing when it's quite small. When the embryo begins to grow again, it uses the food stored in the seed until it can make its own food by photosynthesis. In all seeds, the embryo has 1 or more seed leaves, or cotyledons. In some seeds, food is stored in the cotyledons. In others, food is stored outside the embryo. The outer covering of a seed is called the seed coat. The seed coat acts like a plastic wrap, protecting the embryo and its food from drying out. This allows a seed to remain inactive for a long time. In many plants, the seeds are surrounded by a structure called a fruit. Seed dispersal. After seeds form, they are usually scattered. The scattering of seeds is called seed dispersal. Seeds can be dispersed in many different ways. When animals eat fruit, the seeds inside the fruit pass through the animal's digestive system and are deposited in new areas. Other seeds are enclosed in barb-like structures that hook onto fur or clothing. The seeds fall off in a new area. Water also disperses seeds that fall in the oceans and rivers. Wind disperses lightweight seeds, such as those of dandelions and the maple tree. Some plants eject their seeds. The force scatters the seeds in many directions. A seed that is dispersed far from its parent plant has a better chance of survival. Far away, a seed does not have to compete with its parent for light, water, and nutrients. Germination. After a seed is dispersed, it may remain inactive for a while before it germinates. Germination occurs when the embryo begins to grow again and pushes out of the seed. Germination begins when the seed absorbs water. Then the embryo uses stored food to begin to grow. The roots first grow downward. Then it's the stem and leaves that grow upward. What are the structures of a flower? Flowers come in all sorts of shapes, sizes, and colors. But despite their differences, all flowers have the same function: reproduction. A flower is the reproductive structure of an angiosperm. A typical flower contains sepals, petals, stamens, and pistils. The colors and shapes of most flower structures and the scents produced by most flowers attract insects and other animals. These organisms ensure that pollination occurs. Pollination is the transfer of pollen from male reproductive structures to female reproductive structures. Pollinators, such as those shown in Figure 7, include birds, bats, and insects such as bees and flies. As you read, keep in mind that some flowers lack one or more of the parts. For example, some flowers only have male reproductive parts, and some flowers do not have petals. Sepals and petals. When a flower is still a bud, it is enclosed by a leaf-like structure called sepals. Sepals protect the developing flower and are often green in color. When the sepals fold back, they reveal the flower's colorful, leaf-like petals. The petals are generally the most colorful parts of a flower. The shapes, sizes, and number of petals vary greatly between flowers. Stamens. Within the petals are the flower's male and female reproductive parts. The stamens are the male reproductive parts. Locate the stamen inside the flower in Figure 8. The thin stalk of the stamen is often called the filament. Pollen is made in the anther, on the top of the filament. Pistils. The female parts, or pistils, are found in the center of most flowers, as shown in Figure 8. Some flowers have 2 or more pistils. Others only have 1. The sticky tip of the pistil is called the stigma. A slender tube, called a style, connects the stigma to a hollow structure at the base of the flower. This hollow structure is the ovary, which protects the seeds as they develop. An ovary contains 1 or more ovules.